you need to obey us because you took vows to us. And I would say, okay, do you check on everybody? Do you check on what everybody's doing in the church? But, coming across with this real power over and fear-based religion, the complementarian system, I think for the listeners who don't understand that, is this, it's the way that you view men and women. Male narcissists feed in the system. They grow in the system. They get strength in the system because it's patriarchal. Mindset really is part of rewiring. So we're challenging old beliefs and we're moving into new, more healthy ways of believing and showing up in the world.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Desai show. Today, we are joined by Michelle Moffitt, a psychotherapist, leadership coach, and author of Cracked Open, a journey to resilient and independent mindset. Michelle spent 30 years immersed in a high-control religious system that dictated every aspect of her life, from her marriage to her personal identity. But in this episode, she shares her powerful journey of breaking free from the toxic systems, building her identity, building herself, and creating something that a lot of people don't even think about. Michelle, thank you so much for agreeing to be part of the show and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a delight to be here.
I've heard your story and I started reading your book. You grew up believing your role was to be that perfect Christian wife. What did that look like, and when do you feel it started to go wrong?
I found myself in the system because of a couple traumas that happened in my life, and I wanted to find safety. In this particular religious system, they tell you they'll keep you safe and they believe in certainty. Being a pastor's wife really is a way of trying to have leadership. Now, you're not allowed to vote, you're not allowed to preach, you're not allowed to be on a board. And so it was my one way to be able to try to make decisions or try to lead. But it also was very dictated. My house was always to be open to anyone that wanted to come. I was to be able to cook amazing meals and host, and my kids needed to be able to entertain guests. I think the biggest thing was you give your labor away for free.
Because did they make you convinced that obedience is holy, it's joyful, right? In
Right.
some ways.
Right.
That's what I'm getting from this conversation.
Yes. And so submitting and obedience were the right way to be. And if you were not doing the right thing, then you were sinning. And in our brains, we think that if I'm sinning or doing something wrong, if I follow that far enough down psychologically, then I'm not going to belong and I'm not safe. And so our bodies and our brains just want to stay safe.
Yeah. Complementarianism sounds biblical until you realize it's often a branding strategy for patriarchy, right? Submission becomes the currency, and women are expected to pay in silence. You were part of the complementarian church with your marriage. Were there rules that made you feel like you were living in a bubble or even a cult?
Yes. And again, it's the complementarian system. I think for the listeners who don't understand that, is this, it's the way that you view men and women. It's very binary, and men are leading. They call it male headship. There's a way that God says that he designed people rule, or God rules. Men hear from God. Women are under the men, and the children are under the parents. And so this hierarchy of leadership, if there was a decision to be made, the end decision was up to my husband.
Mm.
Things as simple as we're at a fundraiser and I want to buy something, the decision is up to him. Or what we're doing for our vacation, or what we're going to eat for dinner. If he wanted to protest what I was cooking, he got the final say.
Wow. Wow, that's intense. That's a lot to take.
And again, it's because God said so. So they use this form of belief of complementarianism to say men and women are equal, they would say, but they have different roles. And the man's role is to rule.
Wow. That's way bigger, like going back to 10th centuries. Men are meant to rule and women are meant to lead the houses, but you're not even leading the house.
No.
You're pretty much like under a kingdom led by the priest or like the husband.
And the crazy thing about this is this way of believing, this complementarian system, didn't even come about until maybe the 1970s.
Wow, it's that late?
Yeah, it wasn't. I mean, patriarchal systems have been in place forever.
Right, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
But this complementarian theology or doctrine was not really official way of being until, 30, 40 years ago.
Wow, I didn't know that. That is definitely something I learned today. I didn't even know about this particular kind of church until I met you. Coming back from India, it's the only thing I've experienced is people knocking at our door, and most of them were Mormons. And initially, I actually heard them the entire time, like for 30 minutes, standing outside my house. And my husband is like, "What are you doing? Why are you bringing the Bible inside the house?" And I said, "It's fine. It's just a holy book." He was not against it, but he was trying to make me understand that they're trying to convert you. This holy book, like, what are you going to do with it? You're not going to convert, right? So this is very new for people who are like immigrants and coming from different countries on how there are cults and there are churches. And it's not just about the complementarian church. I think there are so many more places in today's world that I've spoken to so many people that exist
Hmm.
because the it's so minimal,
Hmm.
but they're so united in their own little countries, as I would call, that we would probably not even know about them.
Which is so interesting from being on the inside of that little country. Um, they make you believe that they're everywhere. And
Mm.
so again, it's really leading by fear. And I know when I was getting out of it, I was always hyper vigilant. Is this okay for me to show up like this? Is it okay? Are they watching me? Are they going to say something bad about me? Are they going to wreck my character again? Honestly, refreshing to hear somebody say it's like this tiny little microcosm in the world, these cultish places. And the other side of it is I was zealous about what I believed. I really believed that you needed to believe this too.
Mm.
And then then your life will get wrecked by this of it. I really felt that was genuine and was the truth. And you were going to die and go to hell without knowing my truth.
Yeah, yeah. Did it ever occur to you that your church or your marriage might actually be more than power, more about power than faith? Was there ever a moment you thought this isn't what God intended? Because your upbringing is completely different.
It is completely different. And I think, again, that's, I would call it the gut washing. Like, I feel like I learned to not trust myself. And if we think our gut is the seed of intuition in our bodies, I learned to not trust that. I was zealous about what I was doing and what I was believing, and they had an answer for every question. Right? So if I would say, are you in power here? Are you powering over? Well, yes, but that's what God says we should do. Or when they would come after me with, you need to obey us because you took vows to us. And I would say, okay, but do you check on everybody? Do you check on what everybody's doing in the church? But, coming across with this real power over and fear-based religion of they're watching, you're doing something wrong. Generally, the Sunday sermons are an us against them. So we're the chosen people. We have the right answers. Everybody out there is scary. And then usually by the end of the sermon, it circles back to, and you're bad too. And
Wow.
so this really like negative place of living, and you're constantly trying to do what's right to get acceptance and know that you're not going to hell.
Wow. Did you know that over 1 in 3 women who leave high control religious groups report symptoms of religious trauma syndrome?
Oh yeah.
And
Oh,
I'd not heard about that before. The pulpit becomes a podium for control and not compassion.
right.
That's huge.
Right, right. Yeah. And as a psychotherapist, one of the things we see with the healing from religious trauma is you do need to be trained specifically in that. If
Mm.
you don't understand that somebody's coming to you and has that in their background, it's because it's another layer of abuse, of control, of and you're really afraid. Like I was afraid to change my mind. And
Mm.
I would say the first thing I changed my mind about was that I could change my mind.
I mean, you were there for 30 years. I can't even imagine how that felt and looked like and what you had to go through every single day of your life. And I'm sure it's a lot because you had surrounded by your
Five.
5 kids. So raising in an environment that doesn't belong to you. How did your kids actually grow up? Did they feel secure? Was one rebellious? Was one mad? Was one angry? How did it all come out to in those 30 years of your life? Because they were growing up.
Hmm. And even in that, there was curriculum or books we would read that were very specific to our religious beliefs about how we should raise our children.
They're homeschooled?
They were homeschooled
Wow.
for a long time, and I couldn't do the math anymore, so I had to start sending them to school. This curriculum was very much about old school kids. Kids are not to be seen or heard. They need to first time obedience. My kids, I could look at them sideways and they'd straighten up because they would get the wrath of their father if something happened. And so they were perfectionists, people pleasers. They bought into the belief system too, that God is watching you. Don't do terrible things. And so even a very personal birthday present that they received, they would have to share it because that's what God wanted. And then you'll be safe if you show up like that.
Wow. It's incredible that you're sharing this story. I wanted to talk about the fact when you finally left your marriage, did it feel like escaping a trap? What was the final straw that made you say, I have to get out. I am so done. This is it. And even if it destroys everything, I just know this is not made for me.
Yeah, I think at the beginning, divorce is wrong. When we were married, the pastor said to take it out of your vocabulary because there's nothing that you can't figure out or that is too hard for Jesus to fix. And at the end of my marriage, I was realizing this person I had been with for 25 plus years
Yeah.
was somebody I didn't know. He had worn so many masks and had shown up with so many lies and deceived so many people, deceived me. He was abusive. He was stalking me,
Wow.
the lying, the hiding. I can't do this anymore. You're not safe. And I think when the light started coming on of how unsafe he was, because I'd been wearing blinders to it, I'm having to go around my house and put things in a Rubbermaid of having stuff at a friend's house in case something went wrong because he had this underlying simmering rage and anger. And
Wow.
so if I needed to make a quick escape, I needed to get over to my friend's house. And so when you're walking around your house with a Rubbermaid, what do I take? Right? What's
Yeah.
important?
What are you going to take? You
And
just want to
I
save
kept
yourself.
yeah, Grandma Ruth's teacups. And I was reporting finally what was going on in my marriage to the church system, who were supposed to be there to help. And I kept thinking, if he could just admit what he's done, there's something to work with here.
Yeah.
But he would never admit what he was doing, and the system wouldn't admit it either, because it would ruin the system. So
Hmm.
those were some of the things like, this isn't okay. I can't do this anymore.
Of course. But did the family members or like church blame you or try to shame you for leaving?
Oh yeah. I I received so many handwritten letters. Like one woman went on binge writing me letters handwritten front and back of just how could I be doing this? And she thought she knew me so well, and this is coming out of left field, and I should be forgiving, and I should pray more, and should. Some people from out of the country were sending me emails. I know at some point he told people I had died. Um, so
Wow. Oh my God.
I think it's one of those things where I just have to leave it. I just have to go. Can't understand what goes on in their brains, in their system. And I'm just like, that is not a place for me anymore.
And I was just literally thinking about the fact that faith can be an anchor or actually a weapon because the hard part of learning is how to hold down without thinking. And your story is the perfect example. Did they threaten that you were abandoning God or assure you that a good wife should just pray harder and stay?
Oh yeah. Like I was the process they use in there is that somebody will confront you and then a group will confront you and then you're taken before the board of the church or the entire church, and some places they call it family business. And at those places they say you're no longer a believer, you're no longer practicing the faith the right way, and so you're not welcome in their spaces. So you're just cast out. And again, this idea is so fear based. If I'm cast out, I'm not going to survive. I don't have any people, I don't have belonging. But getting cast out is really a great thing from a toxic system. And of course, okay, fine, cast me out.
Yeah, not that. you were really concerned at that moment of your life. And I feel that every minute a woman stays silent, another generation inherits her pain.
Yes.
What would you scream into the mic if a woman is listening to you right now, Michelle?
Trust herself, be safe, right? People have said, oh, you've hurt your family by getting a divorce. But I was hurting my family by staying in a toxic marriage and an abusive family system. So my daughters now know that it's okay to not be with someone like that.
Of course, yeah.
Sons now know that it's not okay to treat women like that.
I love that.
Right.
A lot of things happened to me as a child, and I always teach my boys that, treat women with respect. You will earn the respect back. And as moms or as parents, if we teach our boys and girls what is right and what is wrong at very young age, I think it would really open so many opportunities of goodness and faith. I was listening to a podcast yesterday by Mel Robbins, and I can't remember the name of the person. He's a very affluent lawyer who fought for people who are on death row, and some of them were not guilty. He shared about his childhood when he was 8 years old, and there was a kid next to him on a bus stop, and he was probably autistic. When he said it, the other kid was stuttering and he could not say anything back. So he laughed at him. The mother was standing behind, she noticed, came running and said, we don't treat anybody else like that. It was a great learning lesson for him. The mom said, you're going to go to the boy and greet him, hi, how are you? And wait till he's trying to say something to you. So he tried to do that, but the boy is stuttering again. Mom is looking and she says, okay, now you're going to go give him a hug. And so, like a little 8 year odd kid, he just like tries to do a little hug. And the mom says, you're going to say, I love you. And the boy's looking at the mom and like, really? The mom is like, yeah, you're going to say, I love you. And so he did that. And then he shared a story where a person on a death row, I'm not sure whether he was guilty or not guilty, but he eventually did get the death row. And the last call with this person was that person said, I love you. And thank you so much for whatever you did for me. So he remembered his mom so much that this little 3 words shouldn't be taken for granted.
Mhm.
We need so much of compassion and empathy in today's world.
Absolutely. And so much of the compassion and empathy comes from understanding other people, understanding their
Mhm.
story, being able to think in terms of this is how I view this, but they're coming from a different backstory, a bias, biology, all these things. So how do I expand the story? And with the kid that was autistic, understanding that this is how his brain works. It's not something that he can help, right? So then you have a different understanding of how somebody's showing up in the world. Right.
Yeah. It was lovely. I just loved that life lesson so much, and I'm going to take it forward.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Um, I want to go back to where we were about narcissism. Looking back, Michelle, do you see those patterns, the gaslighting, the control over your phone or friends, the way obedience was demanded, the way a narcissist operates? Did you ever catch your husband in outright lies or manipulation under the guise of biblical authority?
Mm. Whew. Okay, so
That's a long question. I'm sorry.
yeah, there's several different types of narcissists, and Dr. Romani has a great podcast and a great book around that if people are interested. My husband was diagnosed narcissistic personality disorder, and he was more of what we would call a covert narcissist, which are almost the scariest because they're really hard to detect. The manipulation is so intense, but it's under the guise, and so it's covert. And also this kind of benevolent kind of person. So they would be helping everyone else in the neighborhood, but not playing with his own kids, or doing things for others, but financially at home, we were in massive duress or abused or whatever it was, just ignored. And so they have this aura of like, I'm so great and I'm going to help everybody and I'm going to save everybody. And I treat everybody that I'm close to like crap. And so the very beginning of my marriage, I was hiking with my new husband 2 weeks in, and I'm chatty. I like to use my words. And I was like, how come you're not adding to the conversation? And he sat down and put his head in his hands and said, I've lied to you. And I'm like, lied to me? Lied to me about what? I'm 24, right? There's not a lot that we haven't lived enough. And he said, I've lied to you about how much I weigh. And he was playing football at the time. So he ran, ran the 40. I've lied how fast I ran the 40. I lied about my grades. I lied that I quit chewing tobacco. I lied to you that I was faithful when we were engaged. And I'm just thinking, I just said I do. The pastor said divorce isn't an option. I don't know what to do here. Went and told a mentor of mine what had happened, and she said, you need to forgive him or it becomes your sin. And so there's a Bible verse that says, if you don't forgive those who sin against you, God in heaven won't forgive you. And so all of a sudden, this terrible things that he's done to me, deceiving me, or they don't matter. And so you just constantly keep in that space of going, okay, it doesn't matter. I just got to try harder. I got to be who I need to be here and show up. And so, it's just this constant manipulation. And also, I'm so fragile. Don't bring up things, or there was always an anger simmering. And so you're walking on eggshells, make sure that he's not going to lose it, because you don't know what would happen.
That's really hard. Like, I can't even imagine that you knew that and you still continued that relationship for 30 years. That's really, really huge. And I want to say we are so proud of you for what you have done, the way you built your life back. And I'm sure anybody who's watching you, the people who are reading your book, your kids, your family, everybody is extremely, extremely proud because you have laid the foundation and being enormous inspiration for so many men and women both around the world. And you're practicing being a therapist now. That is such a big blessing now that you can understand these people way more being in that situation. This is such a nice breakthrough into our next segment because I want to hear about your afterlife, you know? You literally gave yourself a birth
Yeah.
all over again.
Yeah.
And so I want to talk about who have you looked up after you rebuilt your life? Were there any voices, survivors, authors, mentors who've realized that, hey, it's okay, you came back and now let's rebuild you?
Yeah. It's so interesting because you're so wobbly. Like my whole belief system was wrecked and I needed to learn to trust myself again. And so it was very much this deliberate, kind, slow, move forward kind of place. And some of the people who were part of high control religious organizations had started coming out before me. And so I could hold on to them and go, they've done it. Okay, they're safe. They can create something new. And one of those people was Jen Hatmaker. So she's somebody to read on her life and belief systems. The other one was Glennon Doyle of We Can Do Hard Things. She wrote a book called Untamed, which was honestly really hard for me to read at the beginning because all of my beliefs are getting shifted here. There's a lot going on. I love Michelle Obama. Oh my gosh, if I
Oh,
could
please do.
but just the strength that women can have and really having to keep telling myself over and over, I'm capable. I can do this. I got this. I don't need somebody to rescue me. Hearing strong women and reading books was huge, huge for me.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. This is incredible. So tell me about your journey into entrepreneurship.
For sure. Yeah.
I'm
I
sure there
think
are a lot of people out there who are
yeah,
probably
yeah,
rebuilding themselves. Let's break the ice for them that you can make it
yes,
and be very successful
yes.
in what you're doing.
Yes, you can. I smile so broadly because I love the word entrepreneur. I'm serial entrepreneur by trade. I love starting things, seeing things, having vision for things. So my current roles, I have a small psychotherapy practice. Um, and I see mostly women who are going through change, whether that's leaving an abusive marriage, a toxic system, figuring out they want a different career path, maybe they're empty nesting, maybe the change of menopause is happening to them and things are different for them, maybe they're caregiving for their parents.
Mhm.
So that's the small private practice I have for therapy. And then I have a coaching business as well where I coach leaders. I do workshops and speaking for teams and sharing sharing knowledge and wisdom about how behavior affects us in the workplace. How do we bring well-being and bring our best selves into work? And how does the organizations create that kind of culture?
Wow, that's incredible. So, when you were getting started, was it difficult for you to find resources and how did you find the money to get started? Because entrepreneurship is not easy. And I know you're from Seattle, so was there a support system for you right here, or you were like completely by yourself?
I was completely by myself, honestly, because I had been required to leave everybody from my past
Hmm.
to be part of the system. So I was very isolated from old friends. So I came back 7 years ago. I started reconnecting with old friends, but my greatest resource, honestly, was LinkedIn. And it became this really amazing place for me to go, wow, there are so many different people out in the world, and I'm safe here. These people believe me, they're helpful. I mean, I had so many virtual coffee dates, cold calling people and meeting just such a great, group of people out there. So just knowing that, that's a phenomenal resource, honestly. And having to start business when you don't have money is really difficult. And I would say it can be done. And again, needing the support system that you can gather through LinkedIn. There's all kinds of grants you can get, there's loans you can get. I would definitely check with somebody who specializes in business to make sure you have a viable business plan. Don't start something and get yourself down a rabbit hole that's not going to work.
Yeah, this is actually a great conversation. And I'm a coach as well. And I tell a lot of young girls that come to me that find your mentor. Don't just knock on people's LinkedIn randomly, but find your niche, find the people that are part of your network, or find your network in a way that you can connect with that particular mentor.
Mm-hmm.
People are very open minded to support you, especially in today's world.
Mm-hmm.
Let's break a little more about LinkedIn. Like, what's your approach primarily LinkedIn to break the ice or like make it out there in the outside world? How did you start your practice? What kind of money did you have to get started?
So when I left the system and my marriage, one of the things that was hard was it was noble for us to not have much money. And so when I go grocery shopping for my family of five, try to find the groceries at the cheapest stores, everything was homemade, yada, yada, yada. And and so having no resource coming out, I'm thankful I had family members who helped get my family off the ground and support us. I'm grateful, but I very easily could think I would be on the street with my kids.
Mhm.
And so thankful for a lot of organizations and families that help in that capacity. The next step of getting the contacts and getting the resources and the referrals, we all want overnight success,
Yeah, everybody wants to go viral overnight, especially in today's world.
right? Yeah. And I think letting yourself know there's a runway there, and how long is your runway? How long can you do this thing until you've got to go find a job, right? And setting that up. For me in particular, my method was finding people who aligned with the things I aligned with, and I could talk with them. And honestly, a lot of my conversations were just so much learning about what else is out there. What are people thinking about? What books are they reading? What podcasts are they listening to? Help might get my own education expanded on what I needed to know about working with corporate clients. That wasn't something I knew anything about. In fact, I didn't know any women in corporate when I was part of that system, because they weren't going to come to churches where they were a complementarian belief system.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think, that was a huge thing. And so I would just contact them, I'd message them and say, hey, I really connect with what you're writing about, and I would love to pick your brain about a couple of these things. And I'd put my calendar scheduler in there, and people would respond or not. But I ended up with a full calendar of talking to people. And, and now so many of those people have become either clients or they've helped resource me in other ways, which again, is such a beautiful picture of humans.
Wow, what an incredible story, Michelle. You're doing so amazing. And it's such a great foundation to have to know that there are resources in today's world. The world has become small. We are getting connected to people from different parts of the world
Mhm.
that we couldn't even imagine before.
No.
I love the fact that you spoke about LinkedIn because people talk highly about Instagram and Facebook. And you have built your identity through a social platform which is very professionally available for so many people. Is there anything that you would like to add about LinkedIn that you used in a way that could help or benefit anybody who's watching today?
Yeah, there are LinkedIn specialists, and if you can find them, that will help you with your marketing plan on. And so keeping up with all of that, but finding the people who have given really good tips about it, right? Like make sure you have a call to action, make sure you have a hook, don't make it too long. Carousels are great because they keep you engaged longer, so your algorithm changes. But actually finding somebody who gives you the tools and tips is really helpful.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. And I have like two more questions before we wrap up and go to my final segment. Um, as someone who grew up under patriarchy and perfectionism, what does freedom feel like today for you?
Sometimes it feels really great, and sometimes it feels scary because my body is still getting used to the idea of it. And so I still am learning to trust myself and move into fun spaces. Freedom feels fun, but it also feels expansive and a little unregulating.
Oh yeah, thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing your personal feelings and thoughts. That means a lot. And you say that mindset work has to go deeper than affirmations. What does that really mean?
Psychologically, affirmations are great. Like, I got this, I'm strong and powerful. And, mindset really is part of rewiring. And so we're going to sit in a space of going, how does that show up in my body? How am I believing that? What else is underneath that? So we're challenging old beliefs and we're moving into new, more healthy ways of believing and showing up in the world. So it can start with an affirmation.
Love that. I'm going to end this segment by sharing a story about Shania Twain. So, if you know, Shania Twain's husband cheated with her best friend, Elizabeth Smart, was rescued after religiously fueled abduction. Even Celine Dion faced pressure to stay silent in toxic love. Women are taught to endure, and I feel that the revolution begins when we stop.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of court cases happening right now in the world where we know what toxicity feels, looks, and sounds like. And it's huge because we have this pre-assumptions about people and we have the capacity, especially as women, to tolerate. And I feel we need to change this narrative more than ever because even though we are in 2025, we have stories like you. We have stories of so many women still being bound by not only just religious cults, but even like if they are living independently by themselves. So thank you for sharing everything that you did today. And before we wrap up this episode, I'm very excited because I love to do this rapid fire. If you're excited, let's bring it on. Yes or no? Have you ever been told by church leaders to just submit more when you were hurting?
Yes.
If you could steal one rule or tradition from your old church to keep as a positive memory, what would it be?
Community.
Most empowering quote or mantra that helps you survive, or one wish you could have told yourself in the past?
I said, God knows, and he's not ready to tell me yet.
Ooh, that is deep. Pop culture hero you wish had been a role model for you back then, or maybe like Wonder Woman, Oprah.
Wonder
Then
Woman, absolutely.
fly away.
Right? Yeah.
One sentence on what true Christian marriage should look like after seeing Behind the Curtain.
I'm going to talk really fast and do more than one sentence. So there's a Venn diagram that is often described marriage, and it's these two circles and whatever joins in the middle. But what happens there is one kind of get absorbed or overtaken by the other one. So true Christian marriage or true marriage is two circles with another circle in the middle. So these people get to be independently themselves, stay themselves, and then this is the dynamic or the beautiful thing that they share in their marriage.
Wow, I love that. Name a song or movie that tells you your escape story.
I love Les Mis. I'm not sure how that tells my escape story, except it was so unjust. There was so much injustice and happening there. So
And because I do want to share everybody that the book of Michelle will be in the link in the description box. One sentence to describe life before you cracked open.
Grayscale.
Love that. Michelle, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Your journey from a life of control to one of empowerment is a testament to the human spirit's resilience. Your story sheds light on the importance of questioning systems that suppresses individuality and the power of reclaiming one's voice. If her story resonates with you, remember, you're not alone, and there is a path to healing and freedom. And if you want to learn more about Michelle, everything is listed in the description box, including her one of the incredible books you might want to read, Cracked Open. The link to buy is in the description box. With that, we are done and we'll see you next week. Thank you so much.